Hi, I'm Natalie. 12 years ago, the man I loved abandoned me while I was carrying his child. No explanation, no message. I gave birth alone, raised my son alone through years of exhaustion and struggle. I thought I'd never see him again, until the day I received a wedding invitation, his wedding, to my half-sister. And what I did next shook the entire Hamptons. Before I share the rest of my story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit like and subscribe if you've ever overcome the impossible, because trust me, you'll want to hear what happens next. What would you do if the person who abandoned you stood at the end of a road you'd tried to forget, and your son wanted to walk toward them? The question haunted me as I stared at the cream-colored envelope in my trembling hands. 12 years. 12 years of silence, and now this. An invitation printed on paper so expensive it felt like silk between my fingers. Mr. and Mrs. Richard Ward requests the honor of your presence at the marriage of their son, Ethan Michael Ward, to Miss Ava Catherine Carter, my half-sister. The golden child who got everything while I got table scraps and sideways glances at family gatherings. And now she was marrying him. Ethan. The name still tasted bitter on my tongue, like medicine I'd been forced to swallow every day since he vanished. I set down my coffee mug, the one with the chip on the handle that I'd been meaning to replace for 3 years, and pressed my palms against the kitchen counter. The morning sun streaming through our small Denver apartment window caught the invitation, making the gold lettering gleam like a taunt. "Mom," Liam's voice drifted from the hallway. "Have you seen my science textbook?" "Check under your bed," I called back, quickly shoving the invitation beneath a stack of bills. My hands shook as I heard his footsteps approaching. He appeared in the doorway, all gangly 12-year-old limbs and messy dark hair that reminded me so painfully of his father. "Found it. What's wrong? You look weird." "Nothing's wrong, baby. Just tired from the night shift." Liam's eyes, those devastating green eyes he'd inherited from Ethan, narrowed. He'd gotten too perceptive lately, noticing things I wished he wouldn't. "You sure?" "Positive. Now hurry up or you'll miss the bus." He grabbed an apple from the bowl, but instead of leaving, he lingered. His gaze drifted to the papers on the counter. Before I could stop him, he'd pulled out the invitation. "Ward," he read aloud, and my heart stopped. "Hey, isn't that the name from—" "It's nothing." I reached for the card, but he stepped back, still reading. "Hamptons, New York. Fancy." His voice had gone quiet, thoughtful. "Mom, is Ward the same name as that guy in the photo? The one you said you'd tell me about when I was older?" The photo. God, I'd forgotten about the photo tucked in my jewelry box. The only picture I'd kept of Ethan and me taken the summer before everything fell apart. Liam must have found it while snooping for Christmas presents last year. "Liam, is he my father?" The words hung between us like a blade. I'd practiced this conversation 1,000 times in my head, but now, faced with those earnest green eyes, every rehearsed speech crumbled. "We need to talk," I said finally, "but not now, after school." "No." His jaw set in that stubborn way that was purely me, even if everything else about him screamed Ethan Ward. "Now. Is Ethan Ward my father?" I sank into the kitchen chair, suddenly exhausted. "Yes." The apple rolled from his hand, hitting the floor with a dull thud. Neither of us moved to pick it up. "Why?" Liam's voice cracked. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because he left." The words came out sharper than I intended. "Before you were born. He made his choice. But he's getting married." "To Aunt Ava?" Confusion twisted his features. "She's your sister." "Half-sister, and we've never been close." Liam picked up the invitation again, studying it like it held answers to questions he'd never known to ask. "I want to go." "Absolutely not. I need to see him. I need to look him in the eye." His hands clenched around the card. "Don't I deserve that?" The bus honked outside. Liam didn't move. "Please, Mom. I'm not asking to have a relationship with him. I need to know. I need to see what kind of man could—" He trailed off, but I heard the unspoken words. What kind of man could abandon us? Looking at my son, this beautiful, brave boy I'd raised alone, I felt something shift inside me. For 12 years, I'd protected him from this pain, but maybe protection had become prison. Maybe we both needed to face this ghost. "I'll think about it," I whispered. He nodded, grabbed his backpack, and headed for the door. At the threshold, he turned back. "Mom, whatever happened, it wasn't your fault." The door closed, and I crumpled. My 12-year-old son trying to comfort me about the father who'd abandoned him? It was too much. I called in sick to work and spent the day staring at that invitation, remembering. Ethan at 22, with his easy smile and careless confidence. Me at 24, believing every promise he whispered in the dark. The positive pregnancy test. His initial joy, then the slow withdrawal. The unanswered calls, the disconnected number. The note from his mother, Victoria Ward, telling me Ethan had gone to Europe for business and wouldn't be back. A check enclosed. Blood money I'd torn to pieces. By evening, I'd made my decision. Not for me, but for Liam. He deserved answers, even if they hurt. "We'll go," I told him over dinner, mac and cheese from a box, because that's what single mothers who work double shifts serve. But we do this my way. We're not going to beg or make scenes. We go, we observe, and we leave. "Okay." He pushed his food around his plate. "Do you think he'll recognize me?" The question broke my heart. "I don't know, baby." That night, I stood in my closet, pushing aside scrubs and comfortable sweaters, searching for armor. My fingers landed on a garment bag I hadn't opened in years. Inside was a red dress, the one I'd bought for my nursing school graduation, back when I still believed in celebrating victories. Red for power, red for anger, red for the blood I'd shed bringing his son into the world alone. I pulled it out, held it against myself in the mirror. The woman staring back looked older, tireder, but also fiercer than the girl Ethan had left behind. "We're really doing this," I whispered to my reflection. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Heard you got an invitation. Don't come. It's not worth it." Jay? Who was Jay? And how did they know I'd been invited? The drive from Denver to New York took 3 days. 3 days of gas station coffee, roadside motels, and Liam asking questions I couldn't answer. "What's he like?" "I don't know anymore." "What's Aunt Ava like?" "Perfect. At least that's what your grandmother always said." "Why don't we see Grandma?" "Because Grandma chose her husband's legitimate daughter over his bastard. Because family dinners became battlegrounds where I was reminded in subtle and not so subtle ways that I was the mistake. The accident. The reason my mother's marriage almost ended." "It's complicated," I said instead, watching the mountains give way to plains. We stopped for the night in Iowa. The motel room smelled like cigarettes and broken dreams, but Liam didn't complain. He sat on his bed, laptop open, Googling Ethan Ward. "He's rich," he announced, "like really rich. Ward Financial Group, they manage hedge funds or something." I knew. I'd done my own Googling over the years, late at night when loneliness made me weak. I'd seen the society photos. Ethan at galas, always with a beautiful woman on his arm. Never the same one twice. Until Ava, apparently. "There's a picture of him with Aunt Ava," Liam continued, "from some charity thing. They look happy?" I supplied. "Yeah." I closed my eyes, remembering how happy we'd looked once, how wrong photos could be. The next morning, I found Liam in the motel parking lot, throwing rocks at a dumpster with violent precision. "You okay?" He hurled another rock. "I hate him." "Liam!" "No, I do. I hate him for leaving. I hate him for making you sad. I hate that he's marrying your sister. I hate that he's rich and we're not. I hate all of it." I pulled him into a hug, feeling his thin shoulders shake. "Then why do you want to go?" "Because hating someone you've never met is like being afraid of the dark. You need to turn on the light to see there's no monster. Maybe when I see him, I'll realize he's just some guy, not worth hating, not worth anything." My brilliant, broken boy. We reached the Hamptons at sunset on the 3rd day. The GPS led us through increasingly wealthy neighborhoods until even the air smelled expensive. Liam pressed his face to the window, silent. The hotel I'd booked was modest by Hamptons standards, which meant it still cost more than I made in a week. The desk clerk eyed our Denver dust and wrinkled clothes with polite disdain. "The Ward Carter wedding?" she said when I mentioned why we were in town. "Oh, that's the event of the season. The rehearsal dinner is tomorrow at the Tide Club. Very exclusive." In our room, I hung up the red dress while Liam showered. My phone rang. Unknown number again. "Hello? Ms. Carter?" A man's voice, deep and unfamiliar. "My name is Julian Cross. I work with Ethan. I texted you earlier." "How did you get my number?" "That's not important. What matters is that you shouldn't come to the wedding. Trust me, it won't end well for you or your son." Is that a threat? A pause. A warning. The wards don't like surprises, especially Victoria. She's protective of the family image. I was invited. By Ava, who doesn't know your history with Ethan. Does she? My silence was answer enough. I'll be at the rehearsal dinner tomorrow, Julian continued. Look for the man in the gray suit standing alone at the bar. We should talk. He hung up before I could respond. The Tide Club perched on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic, all glass and white marble, like a temple to wealth. I smoothed my red dress one last time and glanced at Liam in his rented suit, my baby trying to look grown up in enemy territory. Remember, I whispered as we approached the entrance. We're just here to observe. Right. But the moment we walked in, I knew observation would be impossible. The room turned, a subtle shift of attention like sharks sensing blood in the water. Conversations stuttered. Champagne flutes paused midway to lips. Then I saw her. Ava, resplendent in designer white, holding court near the windows. She'd grown more beautiful, if possible. Our father's delicate features refined by our mother's different genetics into something ethereal. Her eyes found mine across the room and widened. She excused herself from her circle and glided over, each step deliberate as a dance. Natalie. Not a greeting, an accusation. Hello, Ava. Her gaze flicked to Liam, cataloging his features with surgical precision. I saw the exact moment recognition dawned. The ward jawline, those unmistakable green eyes. You shouldn't be here, she said quietly. You invited me. I invited my half-sister to be polite. I didn't know. She gestured vaguely at Liam. Does Ethan know? Why don't you ask him? As if summoned, Ethan appeared. 12 years had been kind to him. A little gray at the temples, laugh lines that suggested a life lived without consequence. He was mid-conversation with an older couple when he saw me. The champagne glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the marble floor with a sound like breaking promises. Natalie? Time stopped. The room held its breath. Then his eyes found Liam, and I watched the color drain from his face. Ethan, darling, you're making a scene. Victoria Ward materialized beside her son, immaculate in navy blue, diamonds at her throat like armor. Her eyes, cold as winter Atlantic, assessed the situation with reptilian efficiency. Mother, Ethan said faintly, still staring at Liam. Ms. Carter. Victoria's smile could have cut glass. How unexpected. I wasn't aware you were on the guest list. Family's always welcome, I said, matching her tone. Isn't that right, Ava? My half-sister looked between us, confusion and growing anger warring on her face. What's going on? Nothing, darling, Victoria said smoothly. Just an old acquaintance of Ethan's. Perhaps we should. I'm not an acquaintance. The words erupted from Liam, loud in the hushed room. I'm his son. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Victoria laughed, a tinkling sound like breaking crystal. How dramatic. Ethan, darling, perhaps you should handle this confusion. But Ethan wasn't listening to his mother. He was walking toward us, each step measured, like approaching a wild animal. He stopped just out of reach, his eyes never leaving Liam's face. How old are you? His voice was hoarse. 12. Ethan's hands clenched at his sides. What's your birthday? March 15th. I watched him do the math, saw the truth settle into his bones like winter. 9 months after that last summer. 9 months after he'd promised me forever and delivered nothing. Natalie! My name on his lips was a prayer and a curse. Why didn't you— Don't! I stepped between him and Liam. Don't you dare! Is it true? Ava's voice cut through our standoff. Ethan, is this child yours? The room waited. I could feel Liam trembling beside me, trying to be brave. Victoria's eyes promised retribution. And Ethan? Ethan looked like a man watching his carefully constructed world crumble. He swallowed. I don't know. The lie hit me like a physical blow. After everything, he was still a coward. You don't know? Ava's voice rose. You don't know if you have a child? Perhaps we should discuss this privately, Victoria interjected. Privately? I laughed, harsh and bitter. Like when you privately sent me that check? Like when you privately told me your son had left the country and wouldn't be back? Victoria's mask slipped for just a moment. I don't know what you're talking about. Mom? Ethan turned to her. What check? The trap was closing, but Victoria Ward hadn't survived in high society by folding under pressure. She straightened, every inch the matriarch. This is hardly the time or place. If Miss Carter has grievances from the past, I'm sure we can address them through proper channels, legal channels, if necessary. I don't want your money, I said. I never did. Then what do you want? Ava demanded. I looked at my son, brave, beautiful, trembling with the effort of standing tall in a room full of people who'd rather he didn't exist. He wanted to see his father, once, that's all. The rehearsal dinner dissolved into chaos after that. Ava fled in tears. Ethan disappeared with his groomsmen. Victoria cornered me by the valet stand, her smile sharp as a blade. You've made your point, she said. Now leave. I'll have a check sent to your hotel, a substantial one, enough to ensure you never darken our doorstep again. I told you I don't want money. Everyone wants money, dear. It's just a matter of price. Mom, stop. We both turned. Ethan stood in the doorway, tie askew, looking haunted. Ethan, darling, stop, he repeated. Just stop. Natalie, can we talk, please? I wanted to say no, wanted to grab Liam and run back to Denver, to our small, safe life. But Liam stepped forward. I want to hear what he has to say. So we ended up on the beach behind the club, me, Liam, and Ethan, while the Atlantic crashed against the shore like it was trying to wash away the past. I didn't know, Ethan said finally. About you, about... God, you have my eyes. Don't, I warned. I tried to call you, he continued, speaking directly to Liam, after I got back from London. Your mom's number was disconnected. Her apartment was empty. It was like she'd vanished. Because your mother? I know what my mother is capable of, he interrupted. But I didn't then. I was 22 and stupid and... He ran his hands through his hair. When I couldn't find you, she told me you'd moved on, found someone else, that you'd terminated the pregnancy. The words hit like ice water. She told you I had an abortion? She had papers, medical forms. I don't know how, but they looked real. And you believed her? My voice shook. You believed I would do that without telling you? I didn't want to. But you were gone, and the evidence was fake, I shouted, not caring who heard. I was in Denver, alone, working double shifts at a diner to pay for prenatal vitamins. I was 19 and terrified and waiting for you to call. I'm sorry. The words fell between us, inadequate as rain in a drought. I don't want your apology, Liam said quietly. I want to know why you didn't look harder. If you loved her, if you loved the idea of me, why didn't you look harder? Ethan flinched like he'd been slapped. Good. Because I was a coward, he admitted. Because it was easier to believe the lie than fight my family. Because I wasn't ready to be a father, and when the universe seemed to give me an out, I took it. At least it was honest. Brutal, but honest. Are you ready now? Liam asked. To be a father? I'm getting married tomorrow. That's not an answer. I don't know, Ethan said. I don't know anything anymore. A figure appeared on the beach, the man in gray from the rehearsal dinner. Julian Cross, I presumed. He approached carefully, hands visible, like he was afraid we might spook. Sorry to interrupt, he said. But there's something you all need to know. About tomorrow. About Victoria. Julian, not now, Ethan started. She's planning something, Julian continued. I heard her on the phone. Security, lawyers. She's going to have them removed tomorrow if they show up. Forcibly, if necessary. In front of everyone. Let her try, I said. You don't understand. She's already spinning a story. Unstable ex-girlfriend, questionable paternity, attempted extortion. By tomorrow night, she'll have painted you as the villain and Ethan as the victim. Why are you telling us this? I asked. Julian met my eyes. Because 12 years ago, Victoria Ward paid me to keep tabs on you, to report back if you ever tried to contact Ethan. I needed the money then, so I took it, but I'm not that person anymore. You followed her? Ethan's voice was dangerous. For my mother? For 6 months. Until she was settled in Denver. Then I told your mother she'd moved on, found someone else. I lied to protect her. Why? I whispered. Because I watched you work 16-hour days while pregnant. Because I saw you cry yourself to sleep in that crappy apartment. Because you deserved better than being Victoria Ward's prey. He turned to Ethan. And because you didn't deserve her. The truth kept unfolding, layer after layer, each more painful than the last. So what do we do? Liam asked, practical even in chaos. Julian smiled grimly. We beat Victoria at her own game. Tomorrow, when the minister asks if anyone objects, you stand up. But not to make a scene, to tell the truth. Publicly, loudly, with witnesses she can't buy or intimidate. That's cruel, Ethan said. No, I said, thinking of 12 years of struggle, of nights spent wondering what I'd done wrong, of Liam asking why he didn't have a father like other kids. What's cruel is letting your mother erase us. What's cruel is marrying my sister while your son stands outside, uninvited to your life. You're right. Ethan looked old suddenly, every one of his 34 years showing. God help me, you're right. The morning of the wedding dawned bright and merciless. I stood at the hotel window watching the sun paint the ocean gold, while Liam slept fitfully in the bed behind me. My phone buzzed. Ava, we need to talk. Alone. Beach Cafe, 7 a.m. I left Liam a note and walked to the cafe, finding my half-sister at a corner table. Without her makeup and designer clothes, she looked younger, more like the girl who'd sometimes snuck into my room during our parents' fights. Is it true? She asked without preamble. Is Liam really Ethan's son? Yes. She stirred her coffee with mechanical precision. Did you know I was dating him? No, not until the invitation came. I met him at a charity gala 2 years ago. He seemed so lost, like he was searching for something. She laughed bitterly. Turns out he was searching for you. Ava. He talks in his sleep sometimes, says your name. She met my eyes. I thought Natalie was his sister or cousin. He said it was someone from college who died. The cruelty of it stole my breath. He'd killed me off in his story, made me a ghost to haunt him rather than a person to find. I'm sorry, I said, meaning it. Are you? Or are you here to claim what's yours? I don't want Ethan. I haven't wanted him for a long time. Then why come? For Liam. Because pretending someone doesn't exist doesn't make them disappear. Trust me, I tried. Ava studied me for a long moment. Victoria's going to destroy you. She already did that once. I survived. This is different. You're threatening her perfect narrative. Ethan's the golden son, the heir. A scandal like this. She shook her head. She'll burn you to protect him. Let her try. Something shifted in Ava's expression. You've changed. You used to be so soft. Single motherhood will do that. Is he a good kid, Liam? The best. Kind, smart, stubborn as hell. Nothing like his father. Everything like his mother, then. She stood. I'm calling off the wedding. Ava, no, this isn't your fault, isn't it? I knew something was off. The way Ethan flinched when we talked about kids, how he always had excuses to avoid family planning conversations. I thought he just wasn't ready. She gathered her purse. Turns out he already had a family. We're not his family, we're his past. Same thing, isn't it? The past you don't deal with becomes your future. She paused at the door. Tell him I'm sorry he got caught in our family's dysfunction. He deserved better from all of us. The wedding was scheduled for 4 o'clock. By noon, the Hamptons social circuit was buzzing with rumors. The bride had locked herself in her room. The groom was drunk at the yacht club. The mother of the groom was in crisis mode, deploying damage control like a general at war. I was helping Liam with his tie when the knock came. Ms. Carter, hotel security. We need you to come with us. I opened the door to find 2 uniformed men and a woman in a severe suit. I'm Amanda Reeves, the Ward family attorney. There's been a situation. We need to discuss your plans for this afternoon. My plans are to attend a wedding I was invited to. About that. She pulled out papers. This is a restraining order filed this morning. You and your son are prohibited from coming within 500 feet of the Ward Carter wedding. On what grounds? Harassment, attempted extortion, making threats against the family. That's ridiculous. Perhaps, but it's legally binding until a judge says otherwise, which won't happen until Monday at the earliest. I looked at the papers, then at Liam's stricken face. Victoria had outmaneuvered us. Furthermore, Amanda continued, Mr. Ward has agreed to submit to a paternity test through proper legal channels. Until those results are available, any claims regarding your son's parentage are considered unsubstantiated and potentially defamatory. He knows Liam is his. What Mr. Ward knows and what can be legally proven are different things. She smiled, shark-like. I suggest you return to Denver. We'll be in touch about the testing procedures. After they left, Liam threw his tie across the room. She wins. She always wins. No, I said, though though I felt the same despair. She just plays dirty. There's a difference. My phone rang. Julian. I heard about the restraining order, but there's something else. Ava's called off the wedding. She's at the venue now, telling everyone. What? And Ethan, he's lost it. He's confessing everything to anyone who'll listen. The whole story. Victoria's trying to contain him, but the truth has its own momentum, I finished. Exactly. The question is, what do you want to do about it? We couldn't go to the wedding venue. The restraining order made sure of that. But in the age of social media, we didn't need to. Within an hour, the Hamptons' wedding of the season had become a viral catastrophe. Videos flooded Instagram and Twitter, Ava in her wedding dress, standing at the altar, announcing to 300 guests that the wedding was off. Ethan, still in his tuxedo, stumbling through a confession about a son he'd never known. Victoria, dignified mask finally cracking, being escorted out by security after trying to physically silence her son. And then the twist none of us saw coming. Julian called, breathless. You need to see this. D. Check your email. I opened the attachment to find 12 years' worth of documents. Every letter I'd sent Ethan, intercepted and filed. Photos of me that a private investigator had taken during my pregnancy. Medical records somehow obtained from my Denver doctors. And email exchanges between Victoria and various fixers, discussing how to handle the situation. Where did you get these? Victoria's assistant. Turns out she's been documenting everything for years, waiting for the right moment to leave. Today seemed right. This proves everything. More than that, it's conspiracy, fraud, stalking. Victoria Ward is about to have bigger problems than a canceled wedding. I showed Liam the emails, watched his face cycle through shock, anger, and something like vindication. She really did all this? Just to keep us away? Rich people protect their kingdoms, I said. We were the barbarians at the gate. A knock interrupted us. Soft, hesitant. I opened the door to find Ethan, still in his wedding clothes but disheveled, eyes red-rimmed. The restraining order, I started, doesn't apply to private property. This is my hotel. My family owns it. He looked past me to Liam. Can I come in, please? I wanted to say no, but Liam nodded, so I stepped aside. Ethan sat heavily on the couch, head in his hands. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. I've said it to everyone today. 300 wedding guests heard me apologize, but I haven't said it to the people who matter. Words are cheap, I said. I know they are. But I need you to understand. When I came back from London and couldn't find you, I hired investigators. 3 different firms. They all came back with the same story. You'd left town, no forwarding address. What I didn't know was that my mother was paying them to lie. He pulled out his phone, showing me emails dated 12 years ago. His messages to investigators increasingly desperate. Their responses, all variations of dead ends. She intercepted everything, every attempt I made. Then she showed me those medical forms, said you'd called her, asked for money for an abortion, said you never wanted to see me again. And you believed her? I was 22 and heartbroken, and yes, I believed my mother. Because the alternative, that she would orchestrate something so cruel, was unthinkable. He looked at Liam. I've spent 12 years mourning a child I thought never existed, only to find out you were here all along, growing up without me. I had Mom, Liam said quietly. I didn't need you. The words hit their mark. Ethan flinched. You're right. You didn't need me. You survived, thrived, without me. That's the worst part. Knowing you became this amazing kid and I had nothing to do with it. So what now? I asked. You've blown up your wedding, confessed to hundreds of people. What's the plan, Ethan? I don't know. For the first time in my life, I have no plan. No mother pulling strings, no family expectations to meet. Just truth, and a son who deserves better than what I've given him. I don't want your guilt, Liam said. Then what do you want? Liam considered. I want to know if you like baseball. If you're allergic to shellfish like I am. If you ever think about parallel universes where different choices were made. He paused. I want to know if you would have wanted me. If you'd known. Yes. No hesitation. Yes to all of it. Baseball, shellfish, parallel universes where I wasn't a coward. And yes, God yes, I would have wanted you. Prove it, I said. He met my eyes. How? Start by standing up to your mother, publicly, legally. Make sure she can never hurt us again. Done, My lawyers are already working on it. She's going to face charges. Federal ones, potentially. Mail fraud, conspiracy, stalking across state lines. And then, I'd like to get to know my son, if you'll let me, if he wants that. We all looked at Liam, this 12-year-old forced to make impossible choices. I want to think about it, he said finally. But maybe we could start with emails, see how that goes? Ethan nodded, hope flickering in his eyes. Emails, yes. Whatever you're comfortable with. 6 months later, I sat in a Denver coffee shop, grading nursing student papers and trying not to check my phone every 5 minutes. Liam was at his first baseball game with Ethan. Just the two of them. No lawyers or mediators or carefully negotiated visitation schedules. Just a father and son, attempting normal. My phone buzzed. A photo from Liam. Him and Ethan at Coors Field, matching Rockies caps, identical grins. The resemblance still took my breath away. Having fun? I texted back. He bought me 2 hot dogs and nachos. I like him better than you right now. I laughed, startling the barista. 6 months ago, humor about this situation would have been impossible. But we'd all learned that laughter beats the alternative. The bell above the door chimed. I looked up to find Julian Cross, looking less corporate in jeans and a Denver Broncos t-shirt. Mind if I sit? I gestured to the empty chair. You're a long way from the Hamptons. Had some business in town. Thought I'd check in. He ordered coffee, then studied me. You look good. Happy. I'm adjusting. We all are. I heard Victoria took a plea deal. 5 years probation, massive fines, and a restraining order keeping her away from us. Ethan says she's moved to Switzerland. Can't face the New York social scene anymore. And Ethan? How's he handling Denver? I smiled, despite myself. He rented an apartment downtown. Nothing fancy. He's trying to prove he's not just a trust fund kid. Got a job with a local investment firm. He's trying. And you? How are you handling having him around? The question I'd been avoiding for months. It's complicated. Watching him with Liam, it's beautiful and painful. Seeing what we could have had, what Liam missed out on. But also seeing who Ethan's become. He's different now. The selfishness, the cowardice. It's like Victoria's exposure burned it out of him. People can change, Julian said quietly. Can they? Or do they just reveal who they always were underneath? Maybe both. We sat in comfortable silence, watching Denver afternoon traffic pass by. Then Julian cleared his throat. I have a confession. My business in Denver, it wasn't entirely business. I raised an eyebrow. I wanted to apologize. Again, for my part in what happened, for taking Victoria's money, for not doing more to help you back then. You've apologized. Multiple times. I've forgiven you. Have you? Or are you just too polite to tell me to fuck off? I laughed. Maybe both. He smiled, and I noticed, not for the first time, that he had kind eyes. Would you have dinner with me? Not as an apology, just dinner, with someone who understands complicated histories. Before I could answer, my phone rang. Ethan. Natalie? Liam's fine, but we're at the hospital. He had an allergic reaction. I was already grabbing my keys. What hospital? Presbyterian. It was the stadium food. Something had shellfish. He's okay, the EpiPen worked, but I'm on my way. Julian stood with me. I'll drive. You're shaking. I didn't argue. During the ride, I called myself every kind of fool, letting Ethan take Liam alone, trusting him to remember the allergy, believing we could play at being a normal family. But when we reached the hospital, I found Liam sitting up in bed, arguing with a nurse about whether he could leave yet. Ethan stood beside him, looking haggard but alert. Hey, Mom, Dad saved my life. Liam said it casually, but the word hung in the air. Dad. First time. The EpiPen saved your life, Ethan corrected. I just remembered where it was. You gave me your jacket when I was cold, and you didn't freak out when I started swelling up. Much. I checked Liam over. Nurse's training overriding mother's panic. He was fine. The reaction had been caught early, treated properly. Thank you, I told Ethan, meaning it. I'm sorry. I should have been more careful about the food. You handled it. That's what matters. We sat with Liam until the doctor cleared him to leave. In the parking lot, Ethan hesitated. I know we agreed to take things slow, but would you both come to dinner? My place? I'll cook. Nothing with shellfish, I promise. Today scared me. How much time we've already lost. Liam looked at me, hopeful. I thought about walls and protection and the safety of our small, controlled life. Then I thought about second chances and the courage to accept them. Okay, dinner. As we drove away, Julian smiled. Complicated histories, right? The most complicated. That dinner offer stands, by the way, when you're ready. I glanced in the rearview mirror at Liam, already texting friends about his near-death experience. Then at Ethan's car following us, careful to maintain a safe distance but close enough to not lose us. I'm not ready, I said honestly, but maybe someday. I'm patient. That night, in Ethan's sparse apartment, we ate spaghetti and talked about baseball and parallel universes. Liam showed Ethan his science project. Ethan showed Liam old photos from college, including ones of me I'd forgotten existed. We were careful with each other, like people learning to walk after a long illness. When it was time to leave, Ethan walked us to the door. This was nice, he said. It was. Maybe we could do it again, next week? I looked at Liam, who nodded eagerly. Next week, I agreed. Walking to our car, Liam slipped his hand into mine, something he rarely did anymore. Mom, I think we're going to be okay. Yeah, baby, I think so too. The Denver skyline glittered before us, full of possibility. Forgiveness, I realized, wasn't forgetting. It was choosing to write a different ending to the story. And for the first time in 12 years, I was ready to pick up the pen. In my pocket, my phone buzzed. A text from Julian. Whenever you're ready, I'll be here. Another from Ava. Heard about today. Glad Liam's okay. Maybe we could all have dinner sometime? I'd like to know my nephew. And one from Ethan. Thank you for tonight. For every chance you've given me, I won't waste them. I didn't respond to any of them yet. Instead, I held my son's hand and walked toward our car, toward our future, toward whatever came next. The past would always be there, scar tissue that ached in bad weather. But scars meant survival. And we were survivors, Liam and I. Love you, Mom, Liam said, climbing into the car. Love you too, baby. Always. Always, no matter what. That was the only promise that mattered. The one I'd kept for 12 years and would keep for all the years to come. Everything else, all the complications and possibilities and careful hopes, could wait for tomorrow. Tonight, we were enough. We were home.
Never underestimate the power of truth. No matter how long it's buried, it will always find its way to the surface. And sometimes, what feels like the end is really the beginning of a stronger, braver chapter. Believe in yourself, because no one can take away your worth or your voice.